second behind our P1 star in Q2, and it was a very popular pole position, wasn't it, this morning for the Italian fans who are en masse here for the sprint action this afternoon, because it was one of their own. It was the local hero, done good, Marco Bezzecchi on the factory Aprilia with a sensational 130.134, an absolutely unbelievable final sector on his last flying lap. Put Bez on pole position for the second time in the last 4 Grand Prix. Aprilia's first Misano pole position, just their 11th in Premier Class history. Their first, coincidentally, was on Italian soil as well, all the way back in 1999 on the old 2-stroke 500s. To Harada in Mugello. So Aprilia had to wait an awful long time for a home pole position. Worth the wait though, because Marco Bezzecchi delivered a spectacular lap. It was a pretty dramatic Q2 this morning, which sets us up nicely for sprint number 16 in 2025. Marc Marquez has been complete in the opening 15 rounds, including the last 8. Including, of course, taking advantage of brother Alex's slip-up when he was leading 7 days ago at the circuit, the Barcelona, Catalunya. It was not just home hopes resting on the shoulders of Marco Bezzecchi. There's been some other outstanding performances from the local riders. Frankie Morbidelli and Luca Marini. They start on the second row of the grid, a first ever top 6 qualifying on a Honda for Marini. And Pecco Bagnaia showing glimpses of some of his old brilliant form as he will go from 8th place on the grid, 1 place behind Fabio Di Gianantonio. A star of the show though in this morning's Q2, Matt Burton-Lewis sort of in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Some lap Lewis, wasn't it, from Bez, putting behind him quickly the double DNF in Barcelona last weekend. There's been a lot of teamwork going on, some tandem work going on between Bez and Jorge Martin, and it has paid off handsomely. The pair of them into Q2 yesterday, and one of them on pole position.
It was Marco Bezzecchi handing out the help to Jorge Martin in practice yesterday afternoon with a bit of a tone of reference in practice. That enabled Martin to reach Q2, and Jorge Martin returned the favour in qualifying earlier on today, handing a slipstream to Bez coming out of turn 10 on his crucial qualifying lap. Whether that ultimately made the difference between pole and not, of course, is difficult to truly calculate, but it certainly helped Bezzecchi taking his second pole position of the season, and of course a first for him in MotoGP on Italian soil.
Yeah, pole position number 6 in MotoGP, 10th of his Grand Prix career, just behind him in second place with a 130.222, which put him in P2 on the grid for this 13-lap sprint. Here's Gresini racing rider Alex Marquez, just the second win of his MotoGP career last time out. One of the best wins of Alex's Grand Prix career, without question, having to fend off race-long pressure from brother Mark, which is certainly a tough proposition at the best of times, isn't it? As the grid then starts to congregate here for what was officially the Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino and the Rimini Riviera at the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, which is a bit of a mouthful, but we got there in the end.
Just about got it right. Fabio Quartararo, who starts from the front row of the grid, keeping up what is an incredible recent record of riders going through Q1 to the very front of the grid. 6 Grand Prix in a row now that's happened. Quartararo, of course, achieving that in Barcelona last weekend, picking Yamaha up on his shoulders and carrying them around Misano with an incredible couple of qualifying sessions. In truth, he was already super quick in Q1, then improved to a 30.2 in qualifying 2 to bump this man off the front row of the grid.
Not unusual to find Mark starting from 4th place on the grid. He has done so already this season at the British Grand Prix, at the Dutch Grand Prix, and also at the Austrian Grand Prix most recently. Big smiles on the face of the boss, MotoGP Hall of Famer Valentino Rossi, the 7 times MotoGP World Champion. Getting, as always, a great reception from his home crowd. Of course, the fabled VR46 training ranch in nearby Tavuglia, about a 5-minute drive away from this Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. The Doctor would certainly have enjoyed his Saturday morning watching Bez take pole position, Frankie Morbidelli and Fabio Di Gianantonio on the second and third rows of the grid respectively, and of course his brother Luca Marini, who really is enjoying life at the moment on the factory Honda. A career best HRC qualifying from Luca as he completes row 2 in 6th.
Been a really good weekend for the Academy, which you were there looking at the tutor of them all, Valentino Rossi. Although I guess as far as that story is concerned, it wasn't all happy smiles at the end of qualifying today. The rider in the box that you're now looking at, Pecco Bagnaia, qualifying down in 8th place, although the margins were so fine in qualifying yesterday. All Pecco Bagnaia had to do was find 600ths of a second and he would have been ahead of his teammate Marc Marquez in 4th place. Marc Marquez on a 1:30.352 in 4th, Bagnaia a 1:30.414 front of row 3.
Just a little bit of news to bring you, of course. Joan Mir, the factory Honda rider who suffered a crash yesterday at turn 9, has withdrawn from the whole of today's programme here in Misano. Of course, having set a time yesterday in practice, he was due to start 12th on the grid. Let's hope that he is on that 4th row for tomorrow's 27-lap Grand Prix. But absent from the sprint coming up shortly. Here's confirmation on screens. He was actually declared fit, but having consulted with circuit medics and HRC, all parties agreed to miss today's running to focus on him being in the best possible shape for tomorrow. And so what that means, of course, Mir's absence means that anybody that's qualified behind Jorge Martin in Q2 this morning moves up one spot on the grid. So Miguel Oliveira, who qualified 13th, or was classified 13th at the end of our 2 sessions this morning, while the Portuguese rider bumped up then now onto row 4 in 12th.
And it means that only 22 start the sprint this afternoon, and Joan Mir has had some rotten luck and rotten history here in Misano. Missed the whole weekend here last year after falling ill to gastroenteritis. Hopefully he'll be fit to start tomorrow, not only because he's been competitive, but that Honda is continuing to make some serious sick earlier on today.
Well, it's been home. The Beast has had a shocker so far here this weekend. 17th yesterday, 20th on the grid, of course, pushed up to 19th by Mir's absence. Certainly not helped by a qualifying crash in Q1 this morning at turn 15. The 27-year-old Italian going to be hard pushed tomorrow to see Enea continue his unbelievable record on home turn, where in MotoGP on Sundays he has never finished off the podium in 5 previous outings. If Mir is fit, well, Enea will be 20th on the grid. I think it's the longest of long shots to see him fighting for the top 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, just points will, I think, be a good result given how his weekend's gone. And KTM collectively have not necessarily enjoyed quite a stronger weekend as they had in Barcelona. They have had some instability issues with their RC16s on a track surface that has very different grip characteristics to Barcelona. Pedro Acosta, the leading KTM, up in 9th place, although once again we did see a mistake at a crucial moment for Acosta earlier on in Q2, where he could have potentially started a little higher up than 9th place.
We are about to witness a moment of Yamaha history, a moment in MotoGP history, of course, as well, because for the first time we're going to see the new V4-powered YZR M1 raced in anger. Augusto Fernandez has done a solid job, more than solid job, on that experimental new V4. There's been a couple of teething issues, as you'd expect, in the early phase of the project. A couple of crashes, both at turn 2 for the former Moto2 world champion. But encouraging signs. That new V4, not a million miles off the pace. Well, he's an Aprilia ambassador, which means he would have loved what he saw this morning. Marco Bezzecchi putting an RSGP on pole position here in Italy. Let's get the thoughts from 4 times 250cc world champion and MotoGP legend Max Biaggi, who joins Jack.
Yes, Marco's RSGP just rolls past us into pole position. Firstly, on Marco, what a great opportunity this is. On home soil for him, home soil for Aprilia. This is a race where he's going to go all in.
Yeah, we are extremely happy for this performance of Bezzecchi. Of course, in Italia, in front of his own people. For us to see Aprilia in pole position is the greatest thing can happen. Okay, today is the only start of the sprint race in pole, but let's see how we end up. We have big hope, and I think if he can start a very good start, he can have a good result.
Is Mark going to be his biggest rival? He didn't look himself this morning in qualifying, though.
Well, you never know him. You know, it's you don't have estimate Mark, and but Marco he did a great pace. It's good even with a soft tire in the rear and the medium. So big hope for today and tomorrow.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Max. Thanks to Jack as well, down on the grid. We've got a Formula One superstar, four-wheeled racing royalty. Lando Norris, of course, fighting for the Formula One World Championship. His teammate Oscar Piastri in McLaren. We know he's a massive MotoGP fan. He was hanging out with Jorge Martina here last night. Great to see Lando on a rare weekend off, enjoying life in the San Marino sunshine.
Yeah, you'd imagine, given how high pressure his season has been, battling with Oscar Piastri for the Formula One World Championship, that he'd have a quiet weekend off. But as a true MotoGP fan that he is, he's spending it at the San Marino Grand Prix here at Misano. It is a weekend awash with motorsport royalty, isn't it? With, of course, the MotoGP Hall of Fame unveiled on Thursday night. So many of those Hall of Famers, as you saw there with Casey Stoner, are here on site. This is the grid then for the sprint. Marco Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez, Fabio Quartararo is your front row. For just the fourth time this year, a front row that does not involve Marc Marquez. He starts fourth from Frankie Morbidelli and Luca Marini. Fabio Di Giannantonio, he heads row 3 ahead of Pecco Bagnaia and Pedro Acosta, who went down in Q2. Aldeguer, Martin and Oliveira on row 4. Everyone from Oliveira backwards promoted by Mears. Injury and forced absence. That's the best qualifying, or equal best, of Oliveira's season. On row 5 we find Ralph Fernandez, Ayagura and Brad Binder. Maverick Vinales, Alex Rins and Johan Zarco on row 6. Zarco has not enjoyed his San Marino Grand Prix weekend to this point. Nor has Enea Bastianini in 19th place. Jack Miller 20th. Augusto Fernandez on the V4 Yamaha, which he has scratched twice this weekend, 21st. And the grid of 22 for this afternoon, minus Joan Mir, is completed by Sonkat Chantra.
The doctor is in the house and ready to see what Morbidelli and Di Giannantonio can do from 5th and 7th on the grid respectively. Yeah, Johan Zarco's worst qualifying in 27 rounds since the Saxon Ring in Germany last year. Jack Miller's had a real tough weekend so far. 2 crashes on the Pramac Yamaha for him. His lowest qualifying since Valencia all the way back in 2015. So this is going to be a huge day in the history of Yamaha as they get to race debut the brand new V4 powered YZR M1 with Augusto Fernandez. Fabio Quartararo shining and brilliant on the front row once again. Let's get the thought to the boss, Paolo Pabesio, who's with Jack.
Yeah, with Gino Borsoi as well, just outside Jack Miller's starting spot, with of course Augusto just next to him. The race debut of the V4, Paolo. It's been a long journey. I'm sure that there's excitement, nerves. Just talk us through the emotions.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but we could perform it pretty quick because it's, I would say, 1.5 years from the decision. It's a very important day for sure because from today we start to see what the bike can deliver inside, hopefully, the racing pack. We can start to compare what we could do and not with M1 compared to the V4 prototype. But most important is to collect data, is to start the new journey from now and see up to which level we can bring it.
And have you got any words to describe what we saw from Fabio this morning? Another just remarkable turnaround from Friday to Saturday.
It's Fabio. He's a special rider. He has something that he can do that very few riders in the world can, and we are proud to have him with us. And we are looking forward to this race and to many more together.
Thanks, Paolo.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks as always to Yamaha boss Paolo Pabesio. Fabio Quartararo sort of once again on his lonesome, carrying the hopes of the Iwata factory on those broad shoulders. Another unbelievable Q1 and Q2 performance, wasn't it, from the 26-year-old Frenchman. Well, we've got a 7 times MotoGP world champion on the grid. We just saw him walking there, Valentino Rossi. We've got another one now as Marc Marquez and Valentino Rossi, they're not going to make eye contact either. We saw this, didn't we, a couple of rounds ago. One rider who already has 7 MotoGP World titles tucked away, and one who is so close to adding his 7th. Surely it's only just a matter of time. Surely it will be next time out at the Mobility Resort Motegi, where Marc Marquez is crowned 2025 world champion. If you are wondering what the state of play is in terms of the championship, Alex's win last weekend in Barcelona no longer means Marc can win it here this weekend at the Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino. You think he's going to make light work, though, of what he needs to do to set up match point number 1 in Motegi next weekend. He just needs 3 points this weekend, Lewis. And it's game on in Japan.
Or if Alex Marquez does not win this TISO sprint, then that will also guarantee a match point for Marc Marquez. He only needs 3 points if Alex Marquez wins the lot here this weekend. And Bastianini has very different thoughts in his mind. Of course, before this Grand Prix weekend got underway with a split from his crew chief Alberto Girubiola. Xavi Talassin is his new crew chief, who has some long-time experience with KTM through their Moto3 and Moto2 projects, but of course a new relationship beginning at a time when Enea Bastianini arrived here on the back of his best ever KTM result.
Well, Marc Marquez chasing a 9th successive sprint win this season. What about Pecco Bagnaia? Can he get his teeth into the fight for a podium here today? Let's get the thoughts of factory Ducati boss Davide Tardozzi, who's with Jack.
Davide, is it just me that thought that Marc didn't look 100% comfortable this morning? What have you done to the bike to get him ready for the sprint?
We done nothing. Unfortunately, both riders make some small mistake during the fastest lap and qualify in second and third row, but I think the potential is higher, considering that is the favorite because he's been the faster almost all weekend so far. But in the end, I think that with a good start, both riders can raise the position that they have in the grid.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Thanks to Davide Tardozzi. Thanks, Jack. Second row starts haven't really proved too troublesome so far this season as far as Marc Marquez is concerned. He started 4th at Silverstone, 2nd in the sprint, 3rd in the Grand Prix, started 4th in Assen, lead to the double win there, started 4th at the Red Bull Ring in Austria, and guess what? Yes, of course he did. He completed the double in the Styria Mountains as well. So more places on the grid have not proven to be too much of a hurdle so far this season as far as the 32-year-old is concerned. Looking forward to seeing what Luca Marini could do in this sprint and over the longer distance main Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon over 27 laps, because it's been impressive, Lewis, to say the least, the way that Honda are improving, helped by, of course, Luca Marini's renowned development skills. A very analytical, methodical rider, isn't he, is Luca. Top 6 on the grid, and I've got to say, double top 6, great chance for him to secure this weekend. We'll get some more thoughts on Luca shortly, but let's go down to here one of our Italian World Superbike stars who's soaking up the atmosphere here in Misano. It's Axel Bassani with Jack.
Yeah, he knows this place like the back of his hand. You know, most of these riders pretty well, Axel, so talk us through what you're expecting in this sprint.
I don't know. Honestly, I hope Bezzecchi can fight for the win because I like him. He's a really good rider, good person. But yeah, you know, Marc Marquez is a different level. So I think he can do everything he wants. But at the same time, I hope to see a race where everyone can fight for the win.
Oh, great to see you here. Enjoy the sprint.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes, all of us echo those sentiments from Axel Bassani. Yeah, let's hope we do get a pretty good sprint coming up. 13 laps of action in just under 8 minutes' time. Marc Marquez then in the zone, fully concentrated. Aragon, Mugello, Assen, Saxon Ring, Brno, Red Bull Ring, Balaton Park, and most recently Catalunya. Golden run of gold medals, 8 successive sprint wins for Marc. Last time he was beaten on Saturday afternoons was by his brother Alex at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Let's go down and get the thoughts of Gresini Racing boss Michele Misano with Alex Marquez on that front row. Jack?
Yeah, he's well in contention again. He's Alex, of course, the victor last time we went racing, but everyone on the grid, Michele, is telling me it's Marco versus Marc. Can Alex get involved as well?
I mean, our target is to try to win the sprint and nothing else. But because we come here after Barcelona, different condition of the track. So here we have a lot of grip. We will try to manage. It's not our favorite track layout, but we've shown again a great speed. So means that we are in the best shape.
Thanks, Michele. Good luck.
Welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Michele Massini. Of course, a huge home round this for Gresini Racing at their base, not too far away in this part of Italy. Of course, always special for them to come to the home of their late team boss, Fausto Gresini. So your front row of what's a packed grid. Absolutely jam-packed, this grid, isn't it? Under scorching hot conditions. There in the middle of your picture, with the black cap is Lando Norris. Now we know who he hero worships on two wheels in the past. An unashamedly big Valentino Rossi 46 fan. He's being escorted right now to the Pertamina Endurovia 46 racing team, where he's going to be as giddy as a 5-year-old when he bumps into Valentino again, I'm sure.
Well, regular Formula One fans like me will know that Lando Norris's crash helmet is bright Valentino Rossi yellow. He is an absolute Valentino Rossi super fan. Of course, met him at the British Grand Prix, wasn't it, 2-3 years ago. I think it was one of the biggest and best experiences of his life. In many respects, his motorsport career is owed to Valentino.
Well, we know Jorge Martin is very pally with Lando Norris because we saw those two hanging out in the Misano paddock here last night. Jorge Martin 11th on the grid for the factory Aprilia team. A little bit too far behind his teammate Marco Bezzecchi to get a helping hand, you feel, in this sprint. But we know Martin in the last 3 or 4 Grand Prix, there's been absolutely nothing wrong with his race pace at all. You feel there was another waste opportunity as far as this young rider is concerned. Acosta, when he was trying to get a toe behind Marc Marquez late on in that Q2 session this morning. At the time, he was on the front row in 3rd place and looking really strong. We saw how hard he was working and pushing to keep with Marc through the fast right-handers. And then when we came to the bottom gear, turn 14, well, that pace was certainly too hot for Acosta's Michelin front tyre handle. Down the road he went, and down the order he went by 6 places. You feel that Acosta has a lot more to offer than that 9th place in Q2, Lewis.
Yeah, once again, when you look at Acosta's qualifying, we're still yet to see him on the front row of the grid this season, and there have been many GPs where he's had the pace to be there. He's going to have to be very aggressive on the first lap of this sprint. He starts right next to this man, Pecco Bagnaia. Marc Marquez on the front of row 2, even by his extraordinary powers of recovery, it would take something special for him to lead out of turn 1 from there. It's not a particularly long run down to the first corner, and it's into a first corner which then tightens significantly into the left-hander of 2. The further back down you are down the grid, the more likely you are to hit trouble through there.
Can't believe I'm saying this. We have not seen Bagnaia on a sprint podium since we were last on Italian soil at Mugello. That was 6 rounds ago now. Just shows how much the struggles have impacted on Bagnaia's year. I have to say, the Italian fans, they're sticking with him. Every time he comes up on screen, he gets a massive cheer and a massive reception. They know the class that the Bagnaia is. They know that currently he's in a bit of a rut. He's in one of the worst periods of his Grand Prix career, but he's fighting tooth and nail to get himself out of it. Here's your top 2 then in the World Championship. Alex Marquez starting from 2nd place on the grid. Bezzecchi on the pole. He's going to be certainly one of the big threats to the Marquez siblings, isn't he, in this upcoming sprint. 13 laps then around this 4.226 kilometre Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. We've only had 2 sprint winners so far this season, and they've come from the same household. Mark's won 14, Alex the 1. Can Marco Bezzecchi break the Marquez domination on Super Saturdays? There is Bagnaia then, getting himself set as a packed grid clears here then in San Marino. Marc Marquez tantalising close to that 7th MotoGP crown. He heads row 2 in 4th place. Your front row, his 49th MotoGP front row start for Fabio Quartararo. Alex Marquez goes from 2nd, with Marco Bezzecchi on pole in Italy. The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix 12 months ago. It was one of their own, Pecco Bagnaia, that won the sprint. And then a real local hero, Enea Bastianini, winning a last lap thriller against Jorge Martin to win the main Grand Prix. Home hero that's about to start this Misano clash from pole position in this 13-lap sprint, coming your way under blazing hot skies here on Italy's Adriatic coast. Marco Bezzecchi on pole for the first time in front of his home crowd. A special Q2 this morning he was for Bears and for the factory Aprilia team. First time in the modern MotoGP era that Aprilia have ever taken a pole position in front of their home crowd as the warm-up lap then gets underway in what feels like the warmest conditions of the weekend so far. It is hot as we are close to the holiday hot spots of Rimini, Riccione and Cattolica here in the southeast part of Italy. 27 degrees is the ambient temperature. A bit of a breeze blowing in from a southwesterly direction. Not too much to keep the fans packed into the grandstands cool here. The state of play in the championship then, Marc Marquez, 487 points he scored, which puts him 182 clear of brother Alex. Surely he's going to have match point number 1 in the pocket, going to Japan in 2 weeks' time. We're going to be logging a fair few air miles, aren't we? Over in Japan, Indonesia, Australia and in Malaysia. Bagnaia then, as we mentioned in the build-up to this sprint, had a medal of any shape or size, 6 Mugello, which is a long time ago, isn't it? Conversely, his factory Ducati teammate, Marc Marquez, can't stop winning golds. Going for gold medal number 15 out of 16. Here's Marc. Fabio Quartararo, well, we'll always expect fireworks from the Frenchman. He delivered his best sprint finish last weekend in Barcelona, second at the checkered flag. Keep an eye on Marc coming from the second row of the grid. What about Morbidelli and Marini? Of course, they've got big desires, big ambitions in front of their home crowd. Lots of family and friends gathered for those two from the VR46 Academy as they look to try and get themselves in the victory battle. Fabio Quartararo then comes to third place on the grid. See if nervy looking faces on the pit wall as far as the factory Aprilia team are concerned. The green flag then clears at the back. 22 riders about to start this sprint here under the San Marino sunshine. It's lights out racing in the sprint here in Misano. It's a brilliant launch away to the middle of that front row from Alex Marquez. He's going to get the drop into on Marco Bezzecchi. He is. Bez going a long way around though as we go into turn 2. He's got the and Marc busy on here, then from 4th to 2nd with Bez at least from pole.
Superb aggression from Marc Marquez, just picked the spots perfectly to go around the outside of his brother and up into second place. A lot of the hard work already done. Quartararo also getting aggressive into turn 4 to hold off to Gian Antonio.
Bez really had to tough it out on the outside of Alex, going through 1 instead of up on the inside through 2. They all got safely through that ultra tight first sector then. Quartararo started on the front row in 3rd place. He slipped back to 4th right now.
Marini has dropped to place 2 to 7th. Bagnaia also down 1 to 9th. The big mover further back was Fermin Aldeguer, who's now up into 8th.
Fernandez has picked up a couple of places as well early on. So out we go of Tremonto, powering now towards the 6th gear. Cavone corner, breathtaking corner, scary corner. This turn 11. Look how strong Bez is through that right-hander. We know that that's Marc's weak point. Sector 3, not really his strong point here in Misano. You can see that Bez going to put, what, 20, 30, 40 metres on him going through turn 11.
Yeah. It put Marc under pressure from his brother Alex, who was suddenly right on top of him, all going up in the background as they're battling around in the lower reaches of the top 10. Martin's now through on Pecco Bagnaia, who's dropped down to 11th place. It's been a miserable start. He's now out of the points.
Yeah, for first lap for Pecco. Benz then, lap 1 in the box. Leads by 1/10.5 ahead of Marc, who gained 2 places. Being aggressive in this third sector on lap 1. He closes through, of course, he looks the left-hander through. 2. He hunts close to the rear tyre of Bezzecchi. On this occasion is Mark.
Yeah, good run through the right-hander at 3 for Bezzecchi, which pulled him a few metres and he needed them. As Marc Marquez looked like he was shaping up for a move on the Aprilia. This is where Marc Marquez, I think, would have wanted to be at this early stage, having made his way through that early traffic in the first 2 corners. He's now only got the Aprilia up ahead of him to worry about. Alex Marquez still in touch as Acosta's now getting aggressive on the inside of Aldeguer. They're fighting for 8th place.
Yeah, those two have already had some pretty big fights throughout 2024, haven't they, the two Mercians? Acosta trying to give him some instant payback. That's a real tight right there going into Tremonto. Aldeguer is trying to tough it out on the inside. Acosta just drops to cage him across the nose of the Gresini racing rider. That's through Carbone. We go again. Turn 11, a bit of a head shake on the curbs there. A bit unstable on the curbs, wasn't the Aprilia of Bez?
So is Mark going to just launch one? He's too far back from there, but that has closed the group back again. Quartararo was in danger of getting detached from this top 3, but that's backed the field up, and Quartararo still just about keeping in touch with the top 3. He's got the 2 VR46 Ducatis right behind it.
Yeah, Bez's heart's already sunk, hasn't it? Because he's already seen on his pit board plus 0.93. He's thinking, oh no, not you again. How many times in recent races has Bezzecchi done the front running? With 93 for company behind him. Alex is the fastest rider on track right now with a 131.197. That's only 2 thousandths of a second faster than Bezzecchi, your leader.
Tackled by Nyaya, by contrast. He's in the 32s. He's second lap up the pace, back in 11th place. It's not the sprint he hoped or thought he would be having at this stage. He's nowhere near the pace of these leaders. He's already 3.5 seconds off the leader.
Moment through 3 there for Bez, having on the brakes into 4. Just shows you how hard he's having to push himself and that RSGP to keep the Marquez brothers at bay at the moment. Further back, just out of your picture, we've got the 2 VR46 Ducatis, the Gian Antonio and Morbidelli. That's Digia charging in too hot into Quercia, turn 8. That's cost him vital ground to Quartararo.
Yeah, we didn't generally see a variety of lines to Quercia, but certainly nothing as deep and as late as that. It's now put Morbidelli right behind his VR46 teammate. Marini's now coming into pressure of Acosta. Look how quickly Acosta has dropped Aldeguer in that battle for 8th place, and he's jumped straight onto the back of the battery Honda.
Ralph Fernandez has just picked up 11th, and he's taken it from Bagnaia. And Zarco's now through on Bagnaia. This has been a sorry sprint so far for Pecco Bagnaia. He's started in 8th. He's lost 5 places in the first, well, nearly 3 laps. It's another horror show for the factory Ducati rider, down in 13th.
It's a familiar story, isn't it? Once he's in traffic, he just can't find his way through at it. And he says often, I'm the easiest rider to overtake. At the moment, he's proving himself, unfortunately, rather correct. Bezzecchi into the 130s, and look at the lead he's pulled out. Nearly half a second over Marc Marquez now, a 130.970, and it was actually Quartararo who was the next quickest rider on track in 4th.
Qualifying on the 4th row of the grid. That's the pace that Bez is showing early on in this sprint. It's Bezzecchi then from Mark, from Alex. Bit of a gap then back to Quartararo of over half a second. Quartararo is doing another sensational job to hold off the Gian Antonio and Morbidelli behind him. Marini at the moment is in 7th, and he's coming under big pressure, as you can see at the top of your picture from Acosta, and that Acosta might be shaping up for a move there on the brakes into turn 8. We'll keep close tabs on that one.
Jorge Martinez, you can see on your screen, left-hand side, has already been given a traffic limits warning. Acosta is now through into 6th place. Luca Marini then down to 7th. There is around about a second and a quarter, though, further back to Aldeguer, but that has closed up. Aldeguer is much closer now. He's in 9th, the final sprint point. Then it's Jorge Martin 10th.
Once again, though, Acosta's going to be ruining that Q2 crash, tripping over his own shoelaces at a crucial moment of the weekend yet again. As Bez is getting on with this, this has been a real strong lap 4 of 13 from the Italian. Look at that, this is the biggest advantage he's had so far. Almost 7/10 up on Mark. He now comes through the Misano corner, turn 16. Ducati chasing their 30th successive sprint here. Well, they're under big pressure, isn't it, that undefeated winning record, going all the way back to Catalunya last year. Bez still in the 130s. Mark and Alex doing their fastest lap. Quartararo's down at turn 2. It takes too hot for Fabio down at turn 2. Turn 2's been caught in the Yamahas this weekend. Augusto Fernandez has decked the new V4 there twice already this weekend.
You'll be running out of fingers to count the Yamaha crashes this weekend. Now we've already seen Oliveira down a couple of times, Miller too, and Augusto Fernandez down twice. I think Alex Rins now is the only Yamaha rider not to fall this weekend, so that promotes Di Gianantonio up to 4th, Morbidelli to 5th, Acosta 6th, and now Jorge Martin up into the points in 9th place. Of course, Juan Aprilia leading the sprint and Juan Aprilia bookending the points positions.
I wonder what the overtime rate is for the Yamaha spares parts department here this weekend. In Misano. So Bezzecchi is the only rider so far in this sprint that's found laps in the 130s. He's reeled off a pair of them in succession on lap 3 and now lap 4. Quartararo has rejoined the race.
Mark's closing this back in on this lap. I think Mark's about to potentially set the fastest lap in the sprint himself. He's cut. Bezzecchi's leading half, and Bezzecchi nearly lost it all there into 14. Mark's now right on top of it.
He's fast, but you can see he's on a ragged edge right now, is Bezzecchi. There's been 2 or 3 mistakes which we've seen already in this sprint. That was a big one. He did really, really well to stay upright and on 2 wheels there, did the factory and pretty star. Over at the line we go. It was a mid-131 from Bezzecchi. Out of nowhere, he was 6/10 slower on that last lap than the previous one. Of course, you have to factor in the big mistake he made, almost washing the front out at turn 14. But this pressure is building on Bez.
Shows what kind of pace they're doing, though. They're still faster than everyone else on the racetrack. The VR46 Ducatis, they're doing 31.7. Marc Marquez is now going for it. Yeah. Up the inside of turn 6, taking a move that Marco Bezzecchi might not have been expecting. And Marc Marquez does now lead the sprint.
Bezzecchi was hot into 4, cost him all of his corner speed going through 4 and 5. And Marc then just had the better speed, the better momentum going through into 6. Door was opened, and thank you very much. He took the lead. So 93 then hits the front just before the halfway stage of this sprint. Now, in the past, when this has happened in sprint and Grand Prix, well, it's been game over. And already, just look at the gap that Marc is putting in between himself and Bez. This is where Bez will fancy his chance of just getting close to Marc. He's so strong through 11, 12 and 13. But coming up now to the first gear, turn 14, when Bez was almost on his backside.
And he's not in a position to attack into 14. We also saw him having a mistake here on the previous lap, so has the horse. Now Bolton, Marc Marquez is down at 15. His sprint run is over.
Marc Marquez, there is not going to be a 15th sprint victory in 16 so far in 2025. It is his first big Saturday slip-up of the season. He goes. Marc Marquez, and having just taken the lead on that dramatic lap 6, he gifts the lead now to Marco Bezzecchi. Well, it was going to come. It was going to happen at some point this season when you're pushing as hard as what Marc Marquez does. The front end crying no more underneath that factory Ducati into the second gear, turn 15. Looks like Marc's going to be A-OK.
Yeah, he went head first into the wall, which you can see there. Fortunately, it was a padded wall that he hit. Just how hard he was pushing there. He was asking big questions of Marco Bezzecchi, but even bigger questions at the front end of his Ducati.
That's all he tried. Look how long he dug his left elbow into the tarmac. We're looking here, front row seat from Bezzecchi's factory Aprilia. You've seen that crash so many times here in Misano. I remember in 2021, another factory Ducati, Pecco Bagnaia, crashed right there, and that allowed Fabio Quartararo to wrap up the World Championship. So his golden run of gold medals has come to an abrupt end, just as he was trying to streak away at the front of this sprint. It is the rarest of Saturday spills for Marc Marquez.
Yes, viewers, he is human. Marc Marquez has made a very rare, would you say, Saturday mistake. As it stands, though, he is still going to take a match point next weekend in Japan or next Grand Prix, because Alex Marquez has to win the sprint to potentially delay that. At the moment, Marco Bezzecchi is keeping in at bay. The gap 0.3 of a second between the top two. Of course, a Marquez brother has still won every single sprint so far this season. That run is now under threat.
So it's left a fight for the gold medal here now then between Bezzecchi and Alex. And Gianantonio is now up into 3rd place. There's a real good inter-team battle. Bragging rights and a bronze medal at stake maybe at VR46 Racing as Digia and Morbidelli go toe-to-toe. big gap then back to Acosta of nigh on 2 seconds, even though Acosta has got down to a 1:31.499 on his last lap. That's a PB lap from the Spaniard, who's pretty easily dispensed of Luca Marini's challenge for 5th. Marini is still, though, in a pretty comfortable 6th place. He's got Aldeguer for company. Martin and Ralph Fernando at the moment in the point-scoring places.
Which features Ducati's now with Marc Marquez after the sprint. Pecco Bagnaia still not in the points, even with that crash of his teammate. He's doing 32 sevens further back in 12th place. Marc Marquez, a rather uncomfortable or unfamiliar Saturday feeling for him. There will be no medal around his neck today. The first time we've said that this year.
He powers out of turn 14, flicks it left through turn 15, and that front, not even Marc Marquez's famed cat-like reflexes were bringing that one back. So, for the first time all season, Marc Marquez is not going to see Saturday slip-up of the season. Here you go. Marc Marquez, and having just taken the lead on that dramatic lap 6, he gives the lead now to Marco Bezzecchi. Well, it was going to come. It was going to happen at some point this season. Alex, half a second between the pair of them at the moment as we come to the tail, the start of this lap 9.
Well, there's plenty of VR46 support around here. We've got a VR46 Academy graduate leading the sprint for Aprilia, and the 2 VR46 Ducatis battling for 3rd place. We're on board with Frankie Morbidelli. Up ahead of us is Fabio Gianantonio. Well, one golden sprint run is coming to an end, but Fabio Gianantonio's run of sprint medals might be about to continue.
Further down, Bagnaia is having an absolute nightmare. He's been tipped off by Agura and Binder on this lap. What is going on? Bagnaia just nowhere once again. Having started in 8th, well, he's down in 14th at the moment. Of course, Matt Clifford, 16th. We've lost Mark and Vanderaro way up the road ahead of the 63.
Watch Jorge Martin then, who's doing pretty competitive lap times on the second of the Aprilias. He's in the 31s and closing quite quickly on Luca Marini. So Marini, who's already been passed by Acosta early on in the sprint, and on the last lap by Aldeguer, he could now soon be reversing back towards Jorge Martin as we now pick up Pecco Bagnaia. And I'm afraid for the many Pecco fans that are here in Misano, we've got to go a long way back to find him.
Passenger. He's a passenger on that Ducati at the moment, isn't he? It's not a given. He's going to hold on to 14th at the moment because, as it stands, both Miller and Vinales, Maverick Vinales, who says he's effectively riding with one arm, is closing in at the moment on Bagnaia. Bezzecchi then on lap 10 of 13. He starts it almost 6.5 tenths clear of Alex in 2nd place. Gianantonio's half a second clear of Morbidelli in that battle for the final medal. Here is your leader then, charging down towards Quercia corner, turn 8 it is, the 72 factory Aprilia of Marco Bezzecchi, looking for a perfect Saturday in front of his home crowd here. Pole position to a sprint victory.
And of course, for all the talk about match points, whether we get a match point for Marc Marquez in Japan, I don't think that's really in Alex Marquez's mind, really. He's thinking about second in the World Championship, and with Pecco Bagnaia not in the points at all. 9 points for 2nd place here for Alex Marquez. Admittedly, he's had a lot of 2nd places this year. Could be another huge boost to his hopes of taking the runner-up spot to his brother in the World Championship. Is he going to take big risks if Marco Bezzecchi is just too fast today?
Well, we're getting a late collapse. It looks like Bez has got this one relatively comfortably covered off, doesn't it? Just saw down the top left-hand corner of your screens, the picture-on-picture. Marc Marquez, a frustrated spectator then now for the latter stages of this Misano sprint. Brad Binder, surely that's not the chain. I was going to say, at least it's not the chain. My eyes just were glued to that sprocket on the left-hand side of that KTM, but he's livid.
It's another mechanical, though.
This is a 3rd major mechanical that's come the way Brad Binder's factory KTM this weekend, and that has been anything but reliable underneath the South African, which has put Bagnaia then up into 13th place. Morbidelli just set his best lap on the sprint. There he is on the 21 bike, a 1:31.33 8th. That was slightly faster than his teammate Digia ahead of him, although Digia was doing a real good job at the moment defending that third spot.
Yeah, that 1:30.9 you just saw on screen for Bezzecchi, that was a lot earlier on in the sprint. That was in the first 3 laps or so, but it is a new best race lap around this circuit. 9/10 of a second the advantage over Alex Marquez through the first sector. 2.5 laps remain, and I think the big battle now in the remaining 2.5 laps to go is this battle between the VR46 Ducatis, although Fabio Di Giannantonio won't help his cause by going wide to Tremonti.
Yeah, he's having to work hard to keep Frankie behind him. Yeah, this one looks like it's over. For the first time in this sprint, Bez is now a second clear of Alex. He was flirting with track limits there, wasn't he, on the outside of turn 11. Such an easy mistake to make, running wide on worn tyres, going through a 6-gear corner. You just feather the throttle, you slightly roll off before you tip it in to turn 11. Through 15 we go, which is where Marc Marquez got caught at. Yeah, right on cue, saw that Morbidelli looked like he was on the green going through 11, and he has just got a track limits warning.
Yeah, there's one thing Frankie Morbidelli doesn't need, it's another penalty, so he'll be looking to try and stay on the right side of track limits, and also in the last 2 laps that remain, just how much of a risk is he prepared to take to secure his sprint medals on the sprint here last season. Remember, Frankie, your boss is here.
And remember, Frankie, he was given a stern pre-weekend warning, and when we say stern, we mean stern, from FIM Chief Steward Simon Crayfart, who's got a little bit weary, a little bit tired of having to repeatedly see Frankie in his office. He was told, carry on, pal, and you are going to be in some serious bother.
Yeah, final strike, old chap. Next time you'll be coming through the pit lane rather than along that penalty loop. But Frankie at the moment not close enough to really launch any kind of attack, even if it's a speculative one, on Fabio Di Giannantonio. As we say, Di Giannantonio sprint podiums in Hungary and in Barcelona. He's on course for 3 in a row here. The only thing that could stop him would appear from here is his teammate.
This is lining up to be a super special Saturday, isn't it, as far as the factory and Aprilia team are concerned, and as far as Bez is concerned. What a day. Pole position this morning in Q2. Looks well set to take sprint success. Of course, it is going to bring an end to Ducati's long unbeaten run. The last time they were beaten in a sprint was by a factory Aprilia in the hands of Aleix Espargaro all the way back at the end of May in 2024. Always felt that at some point Marc Marquez would finally be beaten in a sprint. At some point Ducati would finally be beaten in a sprint. It looks like it's all coming together today.
Well, Max Marquez is just keeping him honest here. He just did a 31-4 to take 3/10 out of Bezzecchi. Di Giannantonio well and truly responding to the threat of Morbidelli. How often do we see it with Digia? Late in sprints and late in races, he's got phenomenal pace. He's just pumped in a 1:31, 1:94, 4/10 quicker than Morbidelli and 6/10 quicker than Pez is going.
Yeah, we're on board here with Aldeguer on the Gresini Ducati, flicking it left now through turn 6. This was the corner where Marc Marquez took the lead from Marco Bezzecchi before, not too long after, he toppled off the left-hand side of that factory Ducati going through turn 15. This is a battle for 5th place, so these two not troubling the medal positions later on.
Marini has got himself back into the 31s. He's keeping Martin at bay, so Martin is in a lonely 8th place. Ralph Fernandez alone in 9th, so he will take the final sprint points. But what has already been a Saturday to remember for Marco Bezzecchi, a 6th MotoGP pole position earlier on today. He's becoming the darling of Aprilia, isn't he, in 2025? So often the nearly man, and so often it was Marc Marquez beating him in 2025. That will not happen today.
On course for just his 2nd ever sprint victory. His first in over 2 years, going all the way back to Assen in 2023. Ducati's golden run in the sprint is over. Marc Marquez's golden run in the sprint is over. It's ended by simply the Bez in San Marino. Marco Bezzecchi completes a sensational Saturday for the factory Aprilia squad. He takes the checkered flag, exactly 1 second clear of Alex in 2nd place. Fabio Di Giannantonio does fend off Frankie Morbidelli in the VR46 battle for 3rd. It is 3 podiums in a row in the sprints for Digia. Acosta is 5th. He did hold off Fermin Aldeguer. Points to Marini, reigning world champion Martin, and Ralph Fernandez, who's battered and bruised after his crash at turn 15 yesterday. Marco Bezzecchi, though, is a sprint winner for the first time on the factory Aprilia. Ducati's successive wins in the sprints ends at 29. just look at these scenes. Paolo Bonora congratulating the team right on cue, as you knew he would be. Valentino Rossi
And Lando Norris as well down there.
7 times MotoGP world champion. Lando Norris also getting involved there. He is in the gap, getting involved in some very special celebrations. Well, this will feel like a career highlight, won't it, for Marco Bezzecchi? A pole position and a sprint victory in front of his home crowd here in Misano. He was there to pick up the pieces after Marc Marquez's incredibly rare mistake. That's one for the scrapbooks, isn't it? A DNF for Marc in 2025 on a Saturday sprint. It's another P2 for Alex. It's his 20th podium this season, his 17th second place. Another good job though, second on the grid and second in the sprint. Another excellent performance in the Gresini Racing's home Grand Prix. Well, he can now. Well, we know for certain that Marc Marquez will have his match point #1 to clinch his 7th MotoGP World Championship at the Japanese Grand Prix. Alex had to win that sprint to deny him. What a day it has been for the factory of Trinity. Top position and a podium. And this is one of the most bizarre celebrations I think we've ever seen, but we'll explain all shortly. Let's go and get some thoughts from Massimo Ribeiro, who's in chat.
Massimo, pole position, sprint win here in Misano, those places as well. How much does this mean?
Again, more than expected, but Marco is really in a great shape. He loves the track, he loves the bike, he loves the team, and so we do. So fantastic. Let's move for tomorrow because it's going to be very, very tough. We saw Marc, Alex, there are many good competitors.
Go and enjoy it, well done.
Yeah, an unforgettable Saturday here for the factory of Aprilia team. Well, this was inevitable, wasn't it? But now, finally, we can say Pecco Bagnaia does not have a chance mathematically to win this year's MotoGP World Championship. I think we're already in miracle territory as far as that one is concerned. Bagnaia limps over the line in 13th place. Brad Binder, Marc Marquez, Fabio Quartararo all out ahead of him. So it could have been a 16th for Bagnaia. 16 seconds he finished behind Bezzecchi. He was losing over a second a lap. And once again, I'm sure MotoGP fans like us all around the world are posing the question, what on earth happened to Pecco Bagnaia?
Not a lot, unfortunately, today. You saw the gesture from him there. It was almost his hands clasped in apology to all of his many fans who came here to see him win. Pedro Acosta takes 5th place today. With the story we understand, it's also the story behind Marco Bezzecchi's crash helmet today. It's based on an Italian film where they carry a wooden leg around throughout the film. Perhaps more international viewers won't understand that. The Italians here certainly will. And Marco Bezzecchi is now carrying a 3rd leg on his victory lap around Misano.
This is my 30th season in the Grand Prix paddock, and I can definitely say with 100% certainty that is a world first. What's the on? Everybody's getting carried away. It's that's Mama Bezzecchi who's taking a bit of a tumble. Well, I guess we could say Marco Bezzecchi put the boot into everybody in that sprint here today. Shall we say one of the more unique, weirder and wonderful celebrations, the weirdest and wonderful celebrations that we've ever seen. The day though for Bez. Pole position this morning with that 1:30.134. That was an awesome way to start today's action. I think you sort of thought that the sprint's
not used to the sprint podium protocol, is he?
Got to do a U-turn, I think, there's Bez. And Frankie over the line in 4th place, just coming up short there in that inter-team battle with the Gian Antonio. Fair play to the Gian Antonio. He had it covered. No wonder Valentino Rossi's got a massive grin. He's got Lando Norris on the scooter as well. There's some real 2- and 4-wheel motorsport superstars there, aren't they? What a day for Rossi as well, and the VR46, because one of his star pupils in the VR46 Academy, Bezzecchi, is your sprint winner here in Misano. And Fabio Di Gianantonio, one of Valentino's riders in his Ducati squad, finds himself with another bronze medal. And they're pinching themselves, aren't they, right now? The factory of Aprilia squad. They were last non-Ducati winners of the sprint, as we said before, in Catalunya, all the way back in May 2024. Ducati and the 93's domination of Saturdays well and truly over.
In Italian, that banner said simply the best, make us dream. The dream, at least today, did come true.
I'm just putting my head up in the commentary box here at these celebrations. Just brilliant. He's a great character. We love him, don't we, Marco Bezzecchi. He's a real personality, got a lot of charisma. It's great for, I think, neutral fans all around the world to have somebody of Marco's ilk at the front of battles, taking the fight to the Marquez brothers.
Well, he did get a bit of a leg up from Marc Marquez, dumping it out of the lead, but Marco Bezzecchi put the pressure on with his early pace, which Marc Marquez had to give chase after. And you just saw how much Marc Marquez was pushing to try and pull away from him. Too hard as it happened.
Yeah, they're in full voice. The factory of Aprilia team, Marco Bezzecchi. And that's going to be ringing out around Cattolica, Riccioni and Rimini tonight. Fermin Aldeguer on a bad sprint work from the number 54. Started in P10, worked his way through up into 6th place. Had another real good duel as well, didn't he, with Acosta. How many times in 2025 have those two locked horns close together? Top ride as well by Jorge Martin, getting himself into the sprint point scoring places. Well, just the second time this season. That's actually a best sprint finish on the factory of Aprilia for Bezzecchi. I was going to say that's not Marco sort of bending his leg into an awkward position there. He is carrying a wooden leg. We've explained the gag already, but imagine if you're tuning in for the first time and you don't know what the explanation is. You're going, what on earth have I tuned
like your
into?
Italian cinema, that one might be lost on you, but trust us, there is a story behind that. There's Fabio Di Giannantonio just strides across the sprint podium. He'll shortly be joining Jack to come and speak to him.
Yeah, likewise, Bezzecchi and Alex coming to the sprint podium ceremony here. And he's coming to talk to Jack, second in the sprint in Hungary, third in Catalonia 7 days ago, and third here in front of his home crowd in Misano, with the boss watching on as well, which will feel extra sweet as far as Fabio Di Giannantonio is concerned. Very, very shortly. Here he is then, right on cue. Diggio on the podium once again in the sprint. He's with Jack.
Fabio, what a brilliant performance, holding off Frankie in those closing stages. That's now a hat-trick of sprint podiums to round that off here in Misano. Just how much does that mean?
It's amazing, I'm super happy. Un sacco di gente che è venuta. Bellissimo avere i tifosi qua, grazie ragazzi, siete pazzeschi. So yeah, it was beautiful for sure, tough sprint because Frankie was pushing hard. But then I was quite focused on making the perfect lines and I was able to get a good rhythm. So special to get my special helmet on the podium. Today is definitely the day where I can remember where I started, why. Yeah, that's another piece of my puzzle.
Congratulations, a great ride.
Thank you. Bye guys.
Yeah, he's carrying and wearing a special home race helmet this weekend. Is Di Giannantonio, all a nod, I think, to where his two-wheel journey started. For 2 moments like this when he was 6 years old, his pocket bike. He's got the bright red livery and a dinosaur, a T-Rex on that helmet. Great job by Di Giannantonio. Great job once again by Alex Marquez. Second on the grid, second in the sprint, and he's the Jack.
Alex, another superb Saturday. Second this morning, second this afternoon. Putting Marco under as much pressure as you could. Did he just have that little bit much today?
Yeah, I mean, I lose the victory on the start. I was not aggressive enough. And in that point, I lose a little bit the way, but later on, I was there behind Mark and Marco. They were slightly faster than me, I should say, to be fair. But I tried my best, here when you're behind somebody, the front tire go up on the peloton and all that, but I was keeping the lap time quite constant, quite good, so happy for that. And yeah, tomorrow we'll try a little bit harder, a little bit better, but anyway, so important to be second here in Misano.
Great ride, well done.
Thank you.
Second place then for Alex in front of the Mass Rank from Gresini Racing. their huge home Grand Prix. But looking forward to this interview. He's such a great character. There's Marco Bezzecchi gets summons to Jack. Marco Bezzecchi about to get a gold medal. Wooden leg and all then. We are about to hear your sprint winner here in Misano talking to Jack.
Marco, pole position, sprint win, a wooden leg, celebrations with Valentino and Lando. What a Saturday.
Yeah, it was a fantastic Saturday. Very happy to grab the sprint win. I don't even remember my last one, so very happy, very happy. The race was not perfect because we had some issues during the race, but even having these problems, I was able to have a good pace, and I knew that Mark was on the limit, and so very happy, very happy. I gave my all, so very happy. Yeah.
Huge congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks from Marco Bezzecchi. Thanks from his wooden leg. Well, this was a key moment, wasn't it? Bez just charging hot going through turn 4, compromises corner speed through 5, and that allowed Mark to pounce going through 6. But very, very shortly after, this is where it all went wrong for the first time in 2025 on a sprint Saturday for number 93. His first Saturday mistake of the season. Just at the point where we're thinking, well, this is going to be sprint win number 15. I guess it just goes to show, never say never in modern day MotoGP.
A week ago it was Alex Marquez, of course, that crashed out of the lead of the sprint. This time it's the turn of Mark, which did lead to some crowd scenes that we could, I guess, do without, but emotions do run very, very deep, particularly in this part of the world, and Marco Bezzecchi was more than happy to accept the present. So were Aprilia, their first sprint win in 12 months.
Yeah, Marco Bezzecchi couldn't quite recall himself when he was last victorious in a sprint. It was all the way back in Assen in 2023, when of course he was on a VR46 Ducati at the time. You know what, he ain't going to let go of that one leg, is he, to be fair to him. As we start then the medal ceremony here in Misano.
He's going to put the gold medal around the wooden leg. It seems to be the star of the show here in Misano today. Third for Fabian Antonio then, and second for Alex Marquez, which was not enough to delay Marc Marquez's match point for Japan. Although I think we were going to get essential confirmation of that tomorrow anyway. But it is Marco Bezzecchi, a wooden leg and all, that steps onto the top of a sprint podium. People who look at their Sunday morning newspapers who weren't here today, some questions that they'll be asking about quite what they saw in Misano today. Strange things are happening. Marc Marquez crashing out of a lead. Marco Bezzecchi carrying a wooden leg onto the podium to celebrate a sprint win that fell into his hands. Alex Marquez, it's an extraordinary podium record for him now. That's 12 sprint podiums to his name, in addition to the 8 Grand Prix podiums. And of course, with Bagnaya's issues, he strengthens second in the championship, but third in the World Championship might well be coming under serious threat now for Pecco because of this man, Marco Bezzecchi. His last sprint win, he wasn't sure what it was Assen back in 2023. His 2-year wait ends today.
And the factory Aprilia team are the stars of Sprint Saturday without any question here And in Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. What a day for Bezzecchi. And he get the treble completed. That will be a fairy tale weekend for Bez in front of his home crowd. In front of so many MotoGP Hall of Famers as well. Yeah, ciao Marco. He's very, very happy. Just his second ever gold medal. He's taking a little bit of a break here. Taking the weight off all three legs at the moment. How many more legs and wooden puns can we come up with before tomorrow's 27-lap main Grand Prix here? That'll be lights out as always at 2 p.m. at local time. But it's Bezzecchi then who took the sprint victory here. Over the line he was exactly 1 second ahead of Alex Marquez, who racks up P2 number 17 in 2025. More Saturday success for Fabio Di Giannantonio. More Saturday, well, unfortunately, for Pecco Bagnaia, who crossed the line down in 13th place.
Well, Marco Bezzecchi putting his best foot forward here this afternoon in Misano. Yes, there was some assistance with Marc Marquez's crash, but you've got to be there to pick up the pieces. Marco Bezzecchi was today. And for all the great days he's had in his MotoGP career, this must be right up there with the best of them. But hey, the form he showed this weekend, maybe the best, is still to come tomorrow.
Fast old get off that for Mark going through turn 15. Just at the point where it looked like he was going to start charging away at the front for sprint win number 15 of the season. His mistake allows Marco Bezzecchi though to secure Aprilia's first sprint victory of the campaign. Bez becomes just our third sprint winner of 2025.
Marco Bezzecchi then by 1 second exactly taking victory in the sprint. Alex Marquez second for Fabio Di Giannantonio, a third straight sprint medal for him. Frankie Morbidelli fourth ahead of Pedro Costa and Fermin Aldeguer. Marini, Martin and Raul Fernandez also scoring points. Pecco Bagnaia a miserable 13. And Marc Marquez, of course, crashing out of the lead. So the championship standings now look like this. Marc Marquez, despite scoring nothing today, does take a match point into Japan. Whatever happens, Alex Marquez had to win the sprint today to deny that. Pecco Bagnaia third in the championship, although with Marco Bezzecchi's win today, that is now starting to come under some serious threat. Constructor standings, of course, Ducati champions a couple of outings ago. Also, it's a Saturday sprint in Barcelona that saw them clinch that. Aprilia clear of KTM in second. Ducati Lenovo, of course, extend, well, they lose some of their team's championship advantage, but I don't think those 279 points are going to be closed down by the time we finish in Valencia. Alex Marquez with the independent standings lead. That does extend today by 2 further points over Fabio Di Giannantonio. Independent team standings, BK8 Brasini, who have their lead cut today over VR46 after their third and fourth. It's now 110 between them. A dramatic Saturday here at the San Marino Grand Prix. Marquez, it all looks to be following his master plan earlier on after a start that saw him climb from 4th to 2nd. As Alex said up to the sprint, he wasn't aggressive enough. Marc Marquez certainly was.